Every single item that you see here on this table has been returned to us in just the last couple of weeks. We sell, at this point this year, we've sold over $1 million worth of video games on Amazon. And so far, in the last 12 months, we've gotten over 2,000 items returned. So we've learned a lot about how to process video game returns and, more importantly, how to minimize them. So in this video, I want to share with you guys my 3 best tips for minimizing your returns if you're a video game seller, starting with something that is pretty basic, which is for these bad boys right here. You'll notice for this particular batch, we've got a nice little smattering of stuff. We've got a whole bunch of disc games, we've got cartridges here, we've got some Pokemon games, handhelds, and a whole bunch of NES zappers, which we'll talk about later. But this first tip only applies to this little stack of stuff right here, which is something that I had to learn the hard way because the early part of my resale journey on Amazon, I'll confess to you guys, I'm a big efficiency guy, a big simplicity guy. I was not cleaning all of my pins. And what I learned very quickly from looking at the ratios of cartridge games to disc-based games that were getting returned to me was cartridges were very high. So my first tip, number 1, is super simple, folks. Clean all of your pins. It doesn't take, like, you can ask any game store owner, any vendor, why this is. They will tell you a lot of people, like especially casual gamers, they don't understand the blow method necessarily. They don't understand, definitely not, swabbing these things with isopropyl alcohol. And the thing is, even if the pins look clean, if you inspect these things and are like, oh, that looks pretty good, there's a good chance if it hasn't been cleaned in a long time, it still may not work. And our return rates on cartridge games have gone down significantly since we just bit the bullet and started cleaning every single pin that comes into this operation. We have a whole box here of stuff. You can see unprepped, dirty pins. And the thing is, when you stack them all up with like games and just go boom, 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 and don't even pick up each one individually to swab it, that's a little piece of tech that will save you a lot of time and actually make the process of doing even this whole, honestly, very small bin of games, cleaning the pins on every single one, pretty efficient. Now, one thing that has made our return processing time a lot more efficient is this video's sponsor, XYAB. The reason for that is, if you'll come over here, let's take a little field trip. You can see up here all of our cases, our replacement cases. These guys, you can see, by the way, shout out to XYAB for making these perfectly sized boxes that fit right on our top shelf with very little room between it and the ceiling. Very optimal for us. We used to have all of our cases up here in this, these like Home Depot boxes, but what we realized is we just started cutting the sides, the flaps off of these, and they work perfect for storage up here. The reason that this has been a game changer for our operation is these cases are so cheap and look so good just right out of the box. This makes a game look almost brand new when you just swap the case out. We have changed our process so that if a game gets returned and has like a big old return sticker, which Amazon loves to do, if it looks like it's going to take more than 1 minute to clean or de-sticker or rehab and look nice, we just grab one of these replacements and do one of those instead, and it saves us a ton of time, which you guys know also saves us a bunch of money. We're huge fans of XYAB. They sell not only these beautiful replacement cases up here, but also we buy all of our chargers from them, we buy all of our GBA slot caps from them, our cords and accessories. They love to work specifically with other business owners. So if you have over 400 lifetime sales online or have a physical storefront, you can qualify for an account with them, and you can use the link in the description to get $50 off your first $100 spent, which is a really good deal. Thanks a bunch to XYAB for sponsoring. We really appreciate you guys. The second tip that I have for you guys is getting really analytical about the kinds of games that are getting returned to you. In our case, and for other large operations, you can go down to like specific SKUs. You can look at a specific title, and for example on Amazon, you can go into your return report and say how many copies of all the copies that I send in of Mario Kart Wii are getting returned to me. Now, if you're like I was when I was starting out, and you're not getting in a dozen copies of this game every year that you can send in, you can also break it down a little bit more broadly by, for example, console. And just take a look at everything that you're getting back, whether it's eBay, whatnot, Amazon, and say, are there any trends here? And here's one thing that I want to share with you guys. If we break this down and separate all of our Wii U versus 360 versus original Xbox, right? We got PS2 over here. If we put them into different piles, we'll start to notice something really interesting, which is that there are some pretty dramatic trends here. We've got PS3 over here. We've got Wii over here. Here's the rest of the Wii. These three stacks are about the same, right? By far the most returns with Wii, Wii U, and 360. But here's the interesting thing, folks. If you come over here, this is our 360 section, right? It's absolutely massive. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves almost entirely dedicated to it. Over here is our Wii section, also really huge. So you would expect that return stack to be pretty big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shelves of that stuff. We sell Wii games just day and night, folks. It's crazy. But look down here. This is the really interesting thing, folks. A single lonely shelf for Wii U games. So why, you may be asking yourself, is the Wii U stack just as high as the Wii stack, even though we're selling a fraction as many copies of those games? And the reason a lot of you guys will not be surprised to hear is that, dude, these games are so freaking fragile. Like, you can look at one of these discs wrong and it will just spontaneously combust, I swear. I don't know if we'll be able to see anything. That's the really insidious thing. I mean, this one has like some smudges, some hand smudges, but no scratches that I would consider to be moderate or deep at all. These games also don't tend to fare all that well in the buffing machine. There is a Blu-ray setting that you can put them through, but it's really hit or miss whether you'll be able to actually repair them. And for all of those reasons, and through looking at our data, we've had to reduce the prices. Like going into September, that's something that we're going to be doing further on Wii U games that we're offering, because we know there's a significantly higher percentage chance for every one of these that we sell that they're going to get returned. And even looking just at this stack, you may notice a significant trend there, eh? One specific game, I was looking at the numbers in preparation for this video, and I'm embarrassed to admit, we have a 40% return ratio on Mario Kart 8. Don't know why. It's absolutely absurd. I don't know if it's something about the manufacturing of this game or just that it's a game that tends to be played by a lot of kids. I don't know. Somebody tell me what it is. Somebody please help me wrap my mind around that, because our prep process for them isn't at all different than all other Wii U games, and yet the return percentage is so bad. We're going to have to definitely be lowering our prices on that. And that comes back to what I was saying is, like, the reason that you want to get really analytical with the video game returns that you're getting is that ultimately it will help shape your buying decisions. It will help you make smarter purchases so you can make more per dollar that you're spending and not worry about as many returns. Ultimately, like, with reselling, returns on some level are a fact of life. It's good to have an idea in your category of what standard return percentages are, and rather than shooting for 0 returns, which just, especially on a platform like Amazon, isn't really reasonable, trying to be on the lower end of that is what I really recommend. For example, in electronics on Amazon, a 7 to 15% return ratio is very common. Some categories like shoes are as high as 30+%. Last I checked, we were at 5.5%, which I'm really happy with, and tells me that a lot of our systems for getting these things prepped and in the best presentable condition that it has the highest likelihood of working on the first try possible, that those systems are working. What else was I going to say about this? Oh, so our by far highest return percentage is indeed Mario Kart 8. But the other two items that we've had to look at recently and say, why are these getting returned so much, is a couple things. One, this culprit right here, the NES Zapper. The weird thing is, we sell the lights out of these on Amazon. Like, they sell way faster than I would expect, given how hard they are to use. And I don't think there's really anything wrong with our intake process on them. We're not just like glazing over obvious, at least not that I know of. I was testing a whole bunch of these on our testing station the other day, and dude, I'm pretty sure the reason we're getting so many of these back is I could not shoot the frickin' duck, dude. I could not do it. People have called me a fake gamer. It has been said of me, not true at all. In fact, I am a highly prolific gamer, not a casual at all. Dude, I could not hit the frickin' ducks. And I would imagine I'm not the only one in the world. And I think that's why these things are getting returned so much. But if you guys know something that I don't, please tell me. And maybe we can refine our testing process of these things. Sometimes I'll get them back and there's something like the weight in here or whatever the mechanical mechanism is on the inside will be loose and I can hear it. I understand why that would get returned, but a lot of these, like, they look good, they sound good, and when I test them, they do work. It's just hard to get them to work on the actual game. So let me know if you have other tips on that. The other thing that we are refining our intake process on is these bad boys right here, PS3 Move controllers. We get a ton of returns on these, and what we've had to do is essentially build out our process of testing them and make sure that not only do they flash for a little bit when you press this middle button, but they maintain flashing and they hold a charge rather than just like doing this while they're on the charger, because dead batteries in these is a very common issue. And what that's going to do long term is we're going to, people will still like send us those in batches. We'll buy them in collections, things like that. But we'll know exactly what to look for and when we have to just like send that item back or make a certain deduction or whatever. Because the batteries for those bad boys are actually like $7 or $8 as it turns out. So we don't want to be taking those in at all. And I only would have known to dive deeper into that specific item because I was getting into the analytics of our returns. And you can do that on the macro scale when you have a big lengthy return report to go through on Amazon, or the micro scale when you're just selling a few items on eBay and you get the same thing returned a few times. Maybe that's something that, I should look into a little bit more deeply. This last tip is one that we only implemented this last year and it's been fantastic. Because you guys, like, here's the thing. Dealing with returns it sucks. There's no getting around it. This is all money that I would rather not have had to spend on shipping 2 ways and not have anything to show for it. And in reality, we'll probably take a full loss on a lot of this stuff if we can't get it to work. But one thing that's made it suck a little bit less, if you want to come over here with me, Thanky, is anytime we get one of these items in, whenever we repair it, and maybe like a game like this, we'll throw in the resurfacer, and actually this one looks pretty dang good. There's not much in terms of scratching on that. Most of the discs that we get returned, we do. Oh my goodness. See, this is just the joy. This is the joy of selling on Amazon. Someone shredded this thing with a box cutter. That is so brutal. Thanks to XYAB for having a replacement case that we can throw this in for good and cheap. So what we'll do is we'll throw this in the resurfacer, we'll test it again, make sure that it's working. But in addition to that, I'll also throw one of these little boys on here. These little flattened blueberries here. Right on the back, I'll put it right next to the barcode. And that won't get stickered over because our stickers will go on top of a poly bag. And that way, when I get this game back, if this for whatever reason gets returned again, I can instantly see, okay, this has been returned to us once before. There's probably something that's happening maybe like deep into gameplay, right? On level 4, this thing is freezing. Or something like that we weren't able to uncover with our initial cursory testing that tells me at a glance, okay, let's not spend any more time on this. At this point, we need to write this thing off. We need to put it in the defective bin and sell it for parts or harvest the case or whatever we need to do to get maximum value out of this and just move on, but not send it in again, because one really easy way to increase your return rates is repeatedly sending off the same game that is not working, especially if it's something that's hard to tell on initial testing. So those are our 3 big tips for hopefully helping you guys minimize your returns overall. The last big thing I would say is these are a necessary part of business. I wouldn't get, especially if you're starting out, treat every return you get as an opportunity to learn something about your customers and about your product rather than an opportunity to get discouraged about how much money you're losing. If you treat that money that you've spent as money that you've invested in your education rather than wasted on an item, you'll be much happier in the long run.